This is a story that was highlighted by Senator Lynn Ruane, who has said that she's baffled that any business or organization would make a decision to put up anti-homeless structures outside their building. She was speaking after sharing a photograph of hoarding erected outside a building in Dublin, preventing homeless people using the doorway as a shelter. And let me, if I may, show you the hoarding, because somebody actually took to attacking it. But this is, let's have a look. Here we are. This is the hoarding in question. And this is the photograph that Senator Lynn Ruane shared. So you can see quite clearly, nobody is going to sleep in that doorway. Nobody is going to be able to sleep in that doorway because of the wooden hoarding that has been placed in front of it. Now, as you can see, vandals came along and graffitied, "Who pays for pointless cruelty?" Now, that particular building is owned by the Department of Education. And let's have a read of what the department said. The department said the temporary wooden hoarding is to be removed. They've also contacted homeless services, adding that impacted individuals have been offered places in hotel. So basically, because of the pressure on them, they're taking that hoarding down. But the fact is, it was put up there in the first place. And this raises the whole conversation about whether or not companies have a right to erect hoarding like that in front of their businesses. So due to pressure, the Department of Education is to remove the hoarding. But the fact is that somebody somewhere felt the need to put it there in the first place. So just have a look at it once again. This is the hoarding that was put up outside this particular building. It was highlighted by Senator Lynn Ruane on social media. And she, obviously, the pressure was brought to bear, and the department have said it'll be coming down. Now, let's just focus on that graffiti there. And that graffiti says, "Who pays for pointless cruelty?" And the point being that it is cruel to erect barriers like this in order for people not to be able to rough sleep for the night. Is that fair? That's the question that we want to ask you. 085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number. I think it is a little bit cruel, I have to say. We live in a time where it is awful, even now, to see anybody sleeping rough on the streets. And we know there are many, many, many reasons why some people sleep rough. Some because they are too afraid to go into hostels, that some of the hostels and services provided around the city aren't up to standard and are quite dangerous, and a lot of homeless people don't want to go. So we want to hear from you. Send us a WhatsApp to 085 825 2626. Do you believe that companies have a right to erect rough sleeping barriers at their outside their buildings? So we saw the same thing happening with the Disney store last year. They erected anti-homeless barriers and there was uproar. I think it's a little bit much, I have to say. Jeremy, you think they've every right to do it?
Well, going back to the Disney story, at the time, the Disney company said in a statement, they said that the reason they wanted to erect these gates in their doorway was because staff members had been experiencing threatening behavior and confrontation. So you have a member of the Disney store, a staff member of the Disney store, arriving from work at 7:30 in the morning to open the doors, and there's three poor unfortunates there sleeping in the doorway or whatever, and that staff member has to wake them up, and that's going to cause confrontation. No staff member deserves to be threatened going into work in the morning. Now, I'm not saying that all rough sleepers would behave in that way, but this is very simple. Companies, shops around the city centre are not responsible for the homeless crisis. They are not responsible. They are not responsible for looking after rough sleepers. That is not their job. There are plenty of charities in Dublin City at the moment doing absolute stellar work with getting people accommodation and sorting out homelessness in the city centre. That is their job. Let's leave that job to them, and let's leave the shops to do what they do best, and that is selling goods to members of the public.
You erect fences in every porchway of every shop in Dublin?
Most do, actually, by the way. Just take a look around the city centre during
Some do. But the fact is there are a lot of porchways and you can see it yourself walking around the city where people have bedded down for the night, and places that were, I won't say popular, but were used regularly are all boarded up. And I just think it's the height of cruelty. We've seen places putting spikes on footpaths outside buildings in order to stop people bedding down again.
Yeah, and you know what the irony is. You'd be the first person onto the guards if you woke at your front door tomorrow morning and there were 3 rough sleepers in your driveway, and you would. And so would every other person.
No, I just asked them to move. I'd ask them to move on.
Yeah, and it's
you
very
think I'd call the guards, do you?
Yeah, I do think. I think every single person listening would call the guards. So what I'm trying to say is get out of your ivory towers at the moment. And, if you feel that badly about these people who are sleeping rough in doorways, hop into your car this evening at 7 o'clock in the evening, go to one of these doorways and take one of these poor, unfortunate people into your car and give them a room in your house for the night. That would answer you better than all this faux outrage about these businesses that are just trying to protect their shop facades. That's all they're trying to do.
Well, Senator Lynn Ruane on our Twitter post yesterday said, "The man who has slept in this doorway for a long time now has had the place he felt safest to sleep replaced with wood. Wood to keep him from a doorstep. Imagine being the person who made this decision. Shame. Disgusting," is what Lynn Ruane posted on Twitter. And I have to say I agree with her. I mean, this man who felt that this was his safe place to sleep for the night had somebody put that fence up to stop him sleeping there. So it's not like 50 people were sleeping there. This is one individual person. And as Lynn Ruane said, imagine being the person who made this decision. Shame. Disgusting. And there's been huge backlash to the point that the Department of Education has now said it will remove this.
By the way, that's populism. It's populism by Lynn Ruane, with the greatest respect. It's populism. She's preaching to the crowd. She's saying what she thinks everybody wants to hear, and that is that rough sleeping is terrible. Yes, rough sleeping is absolutely, it shouldn't happen, but it happens in every country in the world. Ireland is not unique.
No, I'm aware of that.
You go to America and you think we have a problem with rough sleepers. You go to America to places like California where you just see throngs and throngs of people sleeping rough. So rough sleeping is not unique to Ireland. And this is simply... And by the way...
We'd like to hear from you.
If Lynn Ruane owned a shop in Temple Bar, she may feel a bit differently about that. Because I've spoken to people.
Let's bring in some comments. This is a WhatsApp voice note, and you can send one as well to 085 825 2626. 085 825 2626. This is Evan.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. They do have rights to put.
Oh, sorry, Evan.
Up to stop rough sleepers, but at the same time, I completely understand where the people are coming from saying that, that's such a bad thing. It's such a bad thing. You shouldn't be putting up these barriers because where these people going to sleep and all. But at the end of the day, as you said, it's not up to shop owners and stuff like that. It's down to the Irish government and Dublin City Council to get these people off the streets.
All right, Evan, thanks very much indeed. 085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number. We'd like to hear from you. Do you support businesses having erected barriers or fences or wooden hoarding or even spikes on the ground to stop homeless people or rough sleepers bedding down for the night?
Where are these spikes on the ground, by the way, that you're talking about? Has anybody any example of there being spikes in the ground anywhere in Dublin to stop homeless people putting their head down? Because
we actually spoke about this a couple of years ago. It was a building. It was a building. I'll tell you exactly where it was. It was a building down at Amiens Street, opposite Connolly Station. I can't remember who owned the building, but yes, there were spikes on the wall to stop people sitting and lying on the wall. And we only spoke about it a couple of years ago. Let's have a listen to this WhatsApp voice note from Antoinette, who believes that it is cruel.
I have to say, I think it's extremely cruel that they would put up hoarding where they know that people are rough sleeping. It's unnecessary, and it is just cruel. However, the other part is, where's the outrage that people are having to rough sleep in any circumstances anyway? Why isn't there enough hostels? Why isn't there, why the hell are people sleeping rough in the first place? That needs to be looked at more than where they're actually rough sleeping. So it's kind of a catch-22. At the end of the day, there are people rough sleeping, so they need some protections. And if a doorway is where they feel safe, they should be left to it. But it shouldn't stop people trying to sort out the fact that they're rough sleeping in the first place. So I don't know, it's catch-22, but it seems very cruel regardless.
Okay, we'd like to hear from you. We want to run a very quick poll where we're asking you, it's a yes-no answer. Do you support companies placing barriers at their at any area that homeless people are bedding down for the night? It's a simple yes or no. Yes or no. And send that yes or no to 085 825 2626. Do you support companies erecting barriers to prevent people sleeping rough on their premises or on their porch or whatever? Just send a yes or a no to 085 825 2626. Do you support companies or buildings or whatever erecting barriers or fences to keep out homeless people or rough sleepers? Just send a yes or a no to 085 825 2626. I think it's
Philip has been on to us. Sorry, Philip has been on to us, who has been homeless himself. And he says on Facebook, private businesses, I can agree with them putting up barriers, but government buildings belong to the public. And this was a government building, by the way, that we're talking about. So they should not put up barriers. It's the government's job to take care of the homeless, but they don't seem to care. Being homeless myself, and it's not good. You feel absolutely worthless, says Philip, who obviously has an inside track in this because he has been in that situation. I disagree to a certain extent. I feel sorry for the people that have to clean up that mess on a morning basis, says another person there. So it's kind of 50-50, isn't it?
It is. Like you said, I mean, you're accusing Lynn Ruane of populism. I think she's representing the opinions of a lot of people. And again, I'll read out what she said on Twitter. The man who slept in this doorway for a long time now has had the place he felt safest to sleep replaced with wood. Wood to keep him from a doorstep. Imagine being the person who made this decision. Shame. Disgusting, said Lynn Ruane.
NIMBYism. It's NIMBYism. That's all it is. It's NIMBYism, not in my backyard. And I'm going to say this again at the risk of repeating myself. Every single one of you that has a problem with this happening, you wouldn't take a homeless person into your front room. You wouldn't let them sleep in your doorway, even on a freezing cold night. Maybe you do donate some stuff to homeless charities, like we all do, and fair play to you. But at the end of the day, this is a sheer case of NIMBYism, not in my backyard. So you can sit there and pontificate about businesses being cruel towards homeless people. But what have you done to solve the problem? All of you watching at the moment, what have you done to solve the problem? Absolutely nothing.
Okay, but we were asking people's opinions. We asked you to send us a yes or no on WhatsApp to 085 825 2626, and we're asking whether or not do you think companies have a right to erect barriers like that at their premises? Just send a yes or no to 085 825 2626, and overwhelmingly, Jeremy, people are saying no.
Because they feel, you know why? Because they feel that it's the right thing to say. It's the politically correct thing to say. But if you were to ask that same question to that same bunch of people, would you be happy with 3 rough sleepers sleeping in the doorway of your business and having to move them every morning? You'd get a completely different answer. So you're asking people who don't even have their own business, who don't have to put up with this. So, you know, they're preaching from their ivory towers. And thankfully, most of you will never have to experience what it's like having to open a business and move people in the morning who are sleeping in your doorway. So, you know.
Okay, let's have a listen to some more of your WhatsApps. If you'd like to give your opinion on this, send us a WhatsApp voice note to 085 825 2626. Stephen says he can see where you're coming from, Jeremy. Let's have a listen to this.
I can see exactly where Jeremy is coming from about the putting the gates up onto people's companies. I have a friend of mine, she's a hairdresser. She went to work one time and she was having major problems getting into her shop because of a homeless person sleeping there. He basically abused her, and it just wasn't on. But I do feel very sorry for the homeless people as well. So yeah, it's a hard one to kind of work out.
It is, and I'm just looking at the messages coming into us, and the majority of people are saying no, companies do not have the right or should not have the right to erect fencing to prevent homeless people sleeping there.
These are the same people, by the way. These are the same people that would cross the road if they saw someone with a cup standing beside an ATM machine because they wouldn't want the awkwardness of having to stand beside someone who's begging. So,
085 825 2626 is our WhatsApp number if you'd like to get involved. And if you're watching us on Facebook, please share this video to your own Facebook page so that others can see that Adrian and Jeremy are here this morning and every morning with Opinions Matter. Now, Matthew sent us this WhatsApp voice note.
Hey, lads. I agree with Jeremy because, so you come to work, you think you're coming to work to be safe. You get to work, 2 homeless people asleep, you wake them up, and then the possibility of them having a go at you because you're trying to move them on. That's not fair. That I say that's definitely not a shop worker's job to get rid of homeless people off a step.
No, it's not their job. Of course, it's not their job to move a homeless person off a step, but it is that photograph says it all to me. It really does. That photograph of the fence that was erected at a building owned by the Department of Education really just, and in fact, what somebody wrote on it really says it all the more. Who pays for pointless cruelty? And to me, erecting a fence like that to prevent some poor devil sleeping in the doorway at night because it's a place they feel safe, that is pointless cruelty. Pointless, needless, unnecessary cruelty.
I want to deal with Manji, who commented on our Facebook page just now, and she says, Jeremy, would you allow a homeless person into your home? Where are they meant to go, FFS? These doorways are the only place they have to go. Well, that's not true, Mandy. There are plenty of hostels around Dublin. To say that a doorway is the only place that someone can go is a complete lie. Many of the homeless services, they just don't feel safe. So what are you expecting to do? First of all, to answer your question, Mandy, would I allow a homeless person into my house? Of course I wouldn't allow a stranger. I wouldn't allow any stranger, homeless or not homeless, into my house. It'd be quite a ridiculous thing to do, just to invite a random person who you don't know from Adam into your house. So no, I wouldn't. And I'm sure you wouldn't either, Mandy. And I do understand that some of the hostels around the city centre, these people do not feel safe there. But the answer is not sleeping in a doorway. Sometimes they're not sleeping in a doorway as well. And, we've heard many stories over the last couple of years of scumbags coming out of pubs drunk on a Saturday night and urinating on homeless people sleeping in doorways, of spitting on homeless people sleeping in doorways. So, the doorways aren't that safe either. No, and that's the point. And that was the point that Lynn Ruan made in her tweet yesterday. And this is, I can't understand how you can't see this. The man who has slept in this doorway for a long time now has had the place he felt safest to sleep. Okay, so just think about that for 1 second. But the people who erected that do not know this man. They don't know that man's history. They probably don't even know who he is or what his name is. They just did that to protect the building. Anyway, here's Mandy. Mandy's been on WhatsApp voice note. She's the lady who wanted to ask me that question.
Okay,
Jeremy, would you let a homeless person into your home because you're sitting there preaching about how everybody else wouldn't let a homeless person into their home? Where do you expect these people to go? These homeless services are horrendous places to live, apparently, and they don't feel safe. So the safest place that they feel is in a doorway. Seriously, do you realise how degrading and how horrible that must be for a person, regardless of their status, homeless or not? They don't deserve that. But you're sitting there going, no, don't think so. Like, you do this and you do that. You're actually pure fucking heartless at the best of times. Like, you really, really are.
All right, Mandy, thanks very much.
I think you completely got my point. No, she got my point completely wrong. I'm not heartless. I've done so much for homeless charities over the years that I'm not going to go on about now. But you know I have, Adrian. This isn't about heartless. And Mandy, I'm going to say to you what I would say to everybody else. If you ran a little nail salon out the back of Temple Bar, and you had to move 3 rough sleepers every morning, and there were people not coming to your business because there was the smell of urine out your front door, you'd be thinking differently. And that's what this is about. It's about businesses trying to run a business. And again, at the risk of repeating myself, I'll say this for the one last time. It is not the job of commercial businesses in Dublin city centre to solve the homeless crisis. That is the government's job. They're failing.
Okay,
they're failing,
let's have a listen
they're failing
to this WhatsApp. I think you're coming across as extremely heartless. I have to be honest with you. I really do. Laura sent us this WhatsApp voice note, and you can do the same to 085 825 2626.
Put yourself in their position. Would you, if you were out on the streets, would you, with the Irish weather that we have, like to be in a doorway away from the elements, or out to all the elements? It's not fair, and the government need to sort this out. Too many people are homeless. Too many people are hungry. Sort it out.
End of. Sorted out. Rather than not wanting somebody sleeping there and erecting barriers, it's just seems so cruel. This is a very interesting. We're not going to name this particular person who messaged us a while ago, but this is quite shocking. This is somebody who was homeless. Have a listen. In fact, we've 2 messages coming up from people who were homeless. If you want to throw your tuppence worth in, send us a WhatsApp voice note to 085 825 2626. Anyway, this is quite shocking.
Hi guys. I don't really want to. I just want to stay anonymous, to be fair. But you love the show, everything. But I'm a 22-year-old female, and I was homeless for 6 months during the pandemic. And it's a horrible place to be in. It really is. It's horrible. People look down at you as if you're dirt. Like, thank goodness I had my car so I didn't have to sleep in a doorway. But even still, it was freezing in my car and I didn't feel that safe. And I can imagine what people feel like, that their only choice is a doorway to sleep in to feel safe. Like, I rang whenever I was homeless, I rang because I got so sick of it. I rang the council looking for them to put me up for the night, just for one night, and they refused to. They said there was nowhere for me to go. They wouldn't pay for even just a cheap hotel for me to stay in. You know, there's not enough help out there for the homeless. And I have done things for the homeless. Like, I done a walk from Trim to Dublin a few years ago, when we raised thousands for all the soup kitchens around Dublin for the homeless. So, I'm not just turning around and giving out. I have actually done something. But it's an absolute disgrace. There is not enough help for the homeless out there, and it's going to keep getting worse. And people are putting up spikes in the front of their public places for the public. It's an absolute disgrace. Like, not everybody has a car like I did.
Sorry, Adrian, we can't hear you there.
Now you can hear me.
Now we can.
My apologies. Sorry, that's shocking. Listening to
it is
lady, 6 months homeless during the pandemic, sleeping in a car, and we've another.
Could happen to any of us, by the way. It could happen.
Absolutely,
it could happen to any of us. It could happen to any of you listening. There, but for the grace of God and all that.
Exactly. All right, Philip sent us this.
Good morning, Adrian and Jeremy. This is Philip. I sent the message in. Yes, I was homeless for a good long time, and it was nothing to do with drugs or alcohol. Lost my job. It was just the way things went. But yeah, I think government buildings, I think if people want to sleep outside them, I think they should be allowed. But private businesses, well, that's different. I never slept in front of buildings, slept in a tent out in the forest. But the government, they don't really seem to care. Not just about men or women, but the children too. I think it's just, we are a rich country, and we should be taking care of the public, taking care of the people. And it's a shame because I've been to California, and you're right about California. The amount of people sleeping in tents along the railway tracks everywhere, it's just unbelievable. But yeah, something needs to be done, but government buildings belong to the people. Okay, thank you. Bye.
All right, Philip, thanks very much indeed for your
I'd actually
message.
agree with Philip on that, I have to say. And I think there should be a distinction between, and I know in the example given by Linda Wan, it is a government building, and I think there should be a distinction made between a corporate business, i.e. the Disney store or Dunn Stores or whatever the case may be, and a government building. So in this case, I actually agree with Philip, what he's saying.